On Business Incorporated today. Eni to produce hydrogen in Egypt. $1,000-carat diamond discovered in Botswana. S&P maintains stable credit rating for South Africa. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Eni John McCoy. Let's get the program started with market. It was mixed sentiment during intraday trading on the African continent. Only two of the markets we track were open at intraday. South Africa, which was trading positive, added 1.05%, while Nigeria's market was in the negative 0.01%. Egypt, which runs Sunday through to Thursday, was closed today but ended yesterday negative. Kenya also closed same day positive 0.48. And in the Middle East, all the markets are closed on Thursday. Saudi Arabia declined the most, 1.22%. Qatar lost 0.21%. Abu Dhabi went down 0.09%. And the least was Dubai, losing 0.08%. European stocks opened high on Friday morning despite a global sell-off on concerns about the economic recovery. Well, Conrad is in Frankfurt and has more from that region. Hello, Conrad. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Eni. Thanks for having me back. And, well, thank God it's Friday.
Thank God it's Friday. Well, members of Congress in the U.S. have called on the Securities and Exchange Commission to investigate Didi. They believe the Chinese ride-hailing app misled American investigators ahead of its initial public offering on the New York Stock Exchange last week. He has been in the center of sell-off since its app was taken down by the government in Beijing as part of regulatory crackdown. What is this all about?
This is really a devastating story, I have to say. Didi had its IPO last week at the Nasdaq exchange. $4 billion were collected from American investors, international investors. And then suddenly, out of the blue, the government in Beijing says, Didi, you are out of business. You are not allowed to sell your app on the app stores in China anymore, and you are not allowed to take new customers. And the reason Beijing is giving is that Didi was supposedly giving sensible data to customer data to the American authorities, and that this was illegal. Now, this happening after the company collected $4 billion from investors. It wouldn't have been a problem if, without this having collected so much money already. But now, of course, in the United States, the investors and politicians are upset. They say that this is very arbitrary and this is like a defrauding of the investors, and that this will have consequences. Other Chinese companies are also considering consequences, companies which are listed in the United States and which might want to avoid to get in trouble with the Chinese authorities. Weibo, for example, is said to consider a huge share buyback with a huge top-up for investors. Currently, the price of Weibo's shares is $60, and Weibo is considering a buyback of up to $100 per share. If that produces, it would be, of course, good for Weibo investors, but it would not be good for the financial markets because this division between China and America should become smaller again and not larger.
Yeah, man, we hope that the investors will not be caught in the middle of this. Well, there are concerns about Delta variant of the coronavirus, and it has put a dapper on stock prices. On the other hand, there's the earnings season coming up. Are there reasons to be optimistic?
Yes, there are. The market has been pretty willing throughout this corona pandemic to not focus too long on the negative aspects, but focus on the possibilities, on the possibility of a recovery of the economy. Now that, our services sectors, our restaurants, our cinemas are opening again. And of course, all the time, the manufacturing sector here in Germany was pretty active with worldwide demand for our products. So this was what most investors, with short breaks, of course, were quite willing to concentrate on. What's difficult to say and to evaluate, of course, is how news like the Tokyo Olympics and the fact that there won't be any spectators will still weigh on sentiment. And it certainly does in Asia. Here in Europe, what counts more is, as you said, the earnings season, which is kicking off next week. With the American banks being among the first companies to come out with their earnings. And as the economy in the US is so strong, their reports are expected to be positive. So we have to wait and see.
So now let's see a connection between the sporting world and the market world. Winning a major football championship can be good for a nation's stock exchange. That's according to several banks who have looked into history and found out that in the past, Greece, Spain have profited from such trends. So what can we expect this year in this sporting season?
Well, we can expect a boost for the UK market if the Brits win the Euro Championship. If the Danish team wins, it's possible that boost already was anticipated and happened during the couple of weeks. Copenhagen's Bourse has outscored London's FTSE 100 by nearly 5% since the start of the Euro tournament. Copenhagen has also outperformed the Italian stock exchange and the Spanish stock exchanges by 6% and 8% respectively. Now this before the tournament is over. Usually in the past, what we've seen often is that a tournament is over and then the nation that wins experiences a strong positive impact on markets. We've seen this in 2004 with Greece, when Greece won, quite surprisingly, the Euro Championship. We've seen it with Spain in 2008 and 2012. Now, in case of Denmark, the market already there has been pretty strong throughout the whole tournament. The UK market has not been so strong. So if the Brits really make the Euro Championship, it's likely that their market will get a boost.
All right. I hope the boost will go around other countries. Well, thank you so much, Conrad, and enjoy your weekend.
Have a great weekend.
So we move over to the UK now, where Juliana is standing by. I know excited as usual, since, even Conrad mentioned the UK should expect a boost from all these football activities. Hello, Juliana. Good afternoon and welcome to the show.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, but we're not starting on that note. The EU has said that the UK owes its 47.5 billion euro for post-Brexit payments. What's this about?
What it's about, Innie, is a 47-year marriage coming to an end. And as anybody who, unfortunately, may have been through a divorce, it can be pretty expensive. The divorce bill was one of the main reasons why Remainers, or Remoaners, as they were dubbed at the time, didn't want Britain to leave the European Union, because of the bill that it would be having to cough up the money for. As you said, it is to the tune of about £50 billion. That's what's been put out there by the Office for Budget Responsibility, as well as Brussels. They've done their own fiscal planning, and the money's got to be paid. I think by the end of this year, about £6 billion will be due, and they will be having to pay that for at least 10 years. It's not great, but it's part of the agreement, and that's because, of course, the EU, the other 27 members, wasn't expecting Britain to pull out of this union. So there are deals on infrastructure, there are projects, agreements spanning years, sometimes even decades, and Britain financially said that they would be contributing. Now that they're out, they still do have a percentage that they will need to pay. We haven't heard yet from Whitehall or Prime Minister Boris Johnson's spokesperson, but they have signed the dotted line on that Christmas Eve historic Brexit withdrawal agreement. So this money will be paid. We just don't know when.
And Philip Morris International has made a £1 billion offer for pharma firm Vectura. Any news on the possible decision on this offer?
Well, I think it's definitely going ahead. Vectura, they are a very large, prominent FTSE 250 British pharmaceutical group. They're currently trialling some sort of world first in an inhaling COVID-19 vaccine medicine. Philip Morris, very, very large nicotine and tobacco firm, pretty well known for being the owner of Marlboro cigarettes. They have a plan by 2025 to generate revenues of up to £1 billion. That will take them away from the tobacco and nicotine sector. And they think Vectura is the right place to go. As soon as this bid was announced, Vectura's shares were up 12% on the FTSE 250. They are the biggest riser. So it's seen as a good deal. They already had a deal in the bag. I think Carlyle put a bid in for £958 million. It was accepted, but now, of course, shareholders are all rallying around this new deal by Philip Morris, and I believe it will have the go-ahead. And if it does get the go-ahead, by the end of the year, that company will be acquired.
All right, and growth slows, service sector in the positive territory. What's the sentiment to the market at this time?
Well, it's only right that I talk about the football. I was getting a little bit jealous and anxious there when you and Conrad were talking about British football without coming to me, Innie. And even though Conrad said the markets haven't been good, it does seem as if we are going to be going into the weekend in the square mile in positive territory. All hopes and fingers are going to be crossed as it pertains to the Euro Championship final in Wembley, England versus Italy, just in case any of our viewers did need reminding. Is this a business story? Absolutely, it is a business story. I already discussed on Channel's Business Global earlier in the week that 9 million pints were going to be spent. You can imagine what's going to happen in this country on Sunday. Lots of hospitality venues will be fully booked, all sold out. We're expecting a crowd of about 70,000 people, and already there's a petition that I believe has had over 500,000 signatures saying that if England do win on Sunday, there will be a bank holiday on Monday. So yes, unfortunately, you're going to be hearing a lot about football over the next couple of days from this London studio. But as I was saying, the numbers are all in positive territory, and I think it's going to stay that way at least coming into next week. The FTSE All-Share is up 0.65%, the FTSE 100 is up by 0.70%, and the FTSE 250 is up by 0.63%. In the currencies market, the British pound also up on the US dollar by 0.12%, up on the euro by 0.03%, and up on the Japanese yen by 0.24%. I'll quickly mention before I go those GDP figures that I did discuss with Chimeze in the morning. Pretty disappointing, showing that in the month of May, GDP grew by 0.8%. This is the fourth consecutive month of growth, but still pretty low on the 2% we saw in April. Services good, up 0.9%, but it's manufacturing that's really causing a big issue. It's slumped by the second month in the row, and that's because of this shortage of global semiconductor chips. Lots of manufacturing plants have had to shut down. You just can't build them fast enough. But let's end on football's coming home.
So you think by this time on Monday, football will be home?
Don't quote me. I'm not a betting lass, but I'm in England, so of course, yes. You know, it's
all right.
It's their time. It's their time.
We
so
wish
good
you
luck.
we wish all the best, Juliana. We hope that makes your weekend. All right.
I hope so too, Innie.
Yeah, so we move on now to Asia Pacific, where shares fell on Friday as COVID worries resurfaced in the region. South Korea's Kospi dropped 1.07% to close at 3,217.95. In Japan, the Nikkei 225 fell 0.63% to close at 27,940.42, while the Topix index shed 0.41% to end the trading day at 1,912.38. Australian stocks also declined as the S&P AX 200 shed 0.93 on the day at 7,273.30. The City of Sydney earlier this week announced that COVID-19 restrictions would be extended by another week. Mainland Chinese stocks closed lower, with the Shanghai Composite fractionally lower at 3,524.09, and the Shenzhen Component declined 0.2 to 14,844.36. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index advanced about 0.8% as of its final hour of trading. MCS Broadest Index of Asia Pacific shares outside Japan slipped 0.24%. In the U.S., stock futures were higher in early morning trading Friday after the major indexes fell on Thursday amid concerns of a slowdown in economic growth. Futures on the Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 117 points. S&P 500 futures and NASDAQ 100 futures both traded in positive territory. Thursday's losses came as the proliferation of high infectious Delta COVID variant also fueled worries about the global economic recovery. The Dow closed Thursday's regular session 259.86 points lower. The S&P 500 dipped 0.86, while the Nasdaq broke a 4-day win streak by falling 0.72. All three major averages are on the track to lose lower for the week. Shares of companies tied to the economic comeback weighed on the markets on Thursday. Major cruise line, airline, and home improvement stocks slumped. Chip stocks also dropped, and big tech names retreated after gaining in previous sessions. We'll take a short break now. When we come back, we'll head over to the African continent. To stay with us, it's Business Incorporated on Channels Television. You're welcome back. It's Business Incorporated on Channels Television. In South Africa, ratings agency S&P Global says it maintains a stable credit outlook for the country, but the country's economic challenges include a heavy fiscal burden. The country's economic recovery is largely dependent on government implementing its proposed reforms, which could lead to rising GDP per capita and a decrease in debt to GDP. Also in South Africa, the acting health minister of the country has announced a major boost to the country's COVID-19 vaccination plans, with vaccines now being made available to more age groups and on weekends. The minister said that her department held talks with Treasury this week around funding for human capital to allow for vaccinations on weekends. With finances now secured, she said that the start date for weekend vaccination will be the 1st of August. The government also agreed to open up vaccine registration to people in the age of 35 to 49. Channels Television correspondent in South Africa, Brian Pugeni, tells us more about this. Hello, Brian. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you.
Yeah, so what's the vaccination story in South Africa now in the midst of the threats from Delta variant?
Well, the much criticized vaccine rollout has been quite slow, but today in the morning, the acting Minister of Health did announce that there will be more vaccines and more age groups will be included in the vaccination program. At the moment, over 4 million people have been vaccinated. That includes people who are over 60, the over 50s, teachers, and your police officers. So at the moment, they announced today that those between the ages of 49 and 35 can start registering on the 15th of July, and the vaccination process will begin on the 1st of August. So that's really good news because that will cover a larger population. And we also got news that the CoronaVac vaccine has also been approved by SAHPRA. So that will go hand in hand with the Johnson & Johnson and the Pfizer vaccine, which has already been rolled out. So that's really good news we received today. And hopefully when the process comes, it will be a smooth process.
Yeah, we do hope so too, because pupil dropout rates are now at the highest they've been in 20 years, and mostly from the poorer household. Is this just about the pandemic, or are there other factors driving this?
Well, the COVID-19 pandemic is the major issue. We received a report from the Department of Education, Basic Education, saying over 750,000 pupils have dropped out by May. That's 2 months back. This is compared to 230,000 before COVID levels. So obviously the pandemic is a major contributor with more households, like low-income households, being affected at the moment. But it's not just that. We've been experiencing a high unemployment rate, especially with the youth. So a lot of the youth and young people are really discouraged with even the school system, education system itself, saying even if I go to school, go to varsity, get my degree, there is no jobs. So it's more of an economic strain, which we've been experiencing even before the pandemic. So government really needs to roll out their employment strategies, which they've been promising. President Cyril Ramaphosa has been saying that unemployment is one of the killers of the economy. So government has been promising jobs, and hopefully when those jobs do come, we will see less of these people dropouts and people, especially the youth, getting the jobs which have been promised by.
And yesterday on the program, we talked about the increase in fuel prices. What has been the reaction so far, and what impact has it had? What are South Africans saying?
Well, this is the fifth fuel price increase this year. We've been having fuel price increases from January to May. In June, there was a slight decrease. But in July, again, now we have more increases with petrol going up by 29 cents and diesel going up to by 42 cents, which is a strain on pockets of normal citizens. This, coupled with the new COVID regulations, is not really good. Citizens are not happy with this. People are not going to work. Sources of income have been cut off. People are getting salary increase cuts. So increasing fuel at the moment has got South Africans really worked up. No one is happy because consumer goods are also going to be affected, increases in those. So people are not happy at the moment with the current increase in fuel. Hopefully, in the next coming months, we'll see a slight decline in those increases.
Yeah, we do wish that we'll see that decline for the sake of the poorer household especially. Thank you so much, Brian, for sharing your thoughts with us on the program, and enjoy your weekend.
Thank you. Same to you.
So we're moving on now. ENI has signed an agreement with the Egyptian Electricity Holding Company and the Egyptian Natural Gas Holding Company to assess the technical and commercial feasibility of projects for the production of hydrogen in the country. The parties will conduct a study into joint projects to produce green hydrogen using electricity generated from renewables and blue hydrogen through the storage of carbon dioxide in depleted natural gas fields. The study will also analyze the potential local market consumption of hydrogen and export opportunities. In addition, possible development and business schemes will be evaluated to implement the selected project. ENI has been present in Egypt since 1954 and operates through the subsidiary IEOC Production. A huge diamond weighing more than 1,000 carats, which could be the third largest mine in history, has been discovered in the southern African country of Botswana. The high-quality gemstone weighing 1,098.3 carats was unearthed earlier this month by a mining company jointly owned by the Botswanan government and the Bears Group. The large diamond, 73 millimeters long, 52 millimeters wide, and 27 millimeters thick, is the largest gem-quality diamond found in Botswana mines in the company's more than 50-year history. Meanwhile, Britain's Firestone Diamonds plc has agreed to sell its Botswana mine to a local company for just $50,000 after previous attempts to uphold the mine. It's valued at $10 million in 2014 fell through. The Board of Directors of the African Development Bank Group has approved 2 grants worth $83.6 million to boost cross-border trade in electricity between Ethiopia and Djibouti and to deepen integration in the Horn of Africa sub-region. The funds comprise 69.65 million grants to Ethiopia and a second grant of 13.93 million to Djibouti, both sourced from the African Development Fund, the African Development Bank's concessionary financing window. The Ethiopia-Djibouti Second Power Interconnection Project will entail the construction of nearly 300 kilometers of interconnector line, 170 kilometers of transmission lines, and new construction or renovation of substations in the 2 countries. Well, that's it on the program for today and for the week. Thank you so much for being a part of it. I'm Ini John Mekwa.